Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about your life journey, whether you call that a spiritual journey, a spiritual path, your life's work, your destiny, your fate, whatever it is that you call it. When you start on that journey, that's what we're talking about here today on the You Don't Own Me podcast. And I'm Juliana J. So let's dive in. I thought this might be a good topic to discuss because, I myself am on this life journey and I'm actively trying to participate in it and be mindful and be better than I was yesterday and learn new things I can take on my journey and really in search of, in some shape, I'm in search of some sort of enlightenment, right? Being better than I was yesterday, learning something, knowing something, working on being in a positive space. And one of the things I realized being on my journey is that I would have these moments where I just got out of meditation or something like that and just so blissful and everything was great. And wow, I'm on my journey. I'm in the flow. Here I go, and I'm really happy and excited. And then I go out into the regular world and somebody kind of knocks me off that high somehow. Might not be a person. It might be something happens, like something out in the world is like, just tragic, or maybe somebody says something negative, like gives me some criticism or something about myself or something that I'm doing that I feel might be hurtful, or maybe somebody from my past who was not a good person might kind of rear their head somewhere, something, there's a whole host of things that can happen. You can make a big mistake. You can do something you regret and you want to take back. You can have a conversation that wasn't as great as you thought it would be, or you can wake up and feel emotions that you're trying not to feel anymore. Like if you're sort of coming out of a depression or something like that, you might feel that presence come back now and again. And then you feel like, oh no, I've been knocked out of my vortex or my flow or, whatever it is that off my path, whatever you want to define it as. And that can be challenging, especially if you're finding yourself, that happens kind of frequently. It can make you wonder, am I doing the right thing? Maybe this isn't even the right thing. Maybe what I'm so interested in is wrong. How do I stay on my path and recognize where I should go and where I shouldn't go and what I need to do? And how do I stay in this space of sort of contentment or happiness or joy or something like that? And I think that's kind of a misconception when you're on your life journey or spiritual path. You can't have an expectation that you're always going to be in this perfect state of joy or bliss or happiness, and you're never going to experience anything that is less than that. I think a lot of us, especially, maybe in the Western world, we think, oh, we go on this spiritual path and we gain this knowledge. And then, we're sort of up here, and then somehow we're immune to anything very upsetting or sad or negative. And if it happens, we have to immediately try to discount it or get over it or move on just really quickly. I am certainly guilty of this. Something will happen and I'll be really stressed out about it, or it'll just really plummet my mood or something like that. And I'll try to just put it out of my mind, put it out of my mind. I don't do it, I try to now, but in the past, I wouldn't do any work on that. I would just, well, you don't think like that anymore. Don't have that thought anymore. You can't entertain that. Just let it go, you know. But sometimes I wouldn't allow the emotions necessary to process that, learn from it, and become a better person. Instead, I would just, put on blinders about it, and some things that you can do that with, because some things are not really your karma or your thing. Maybe somebody else is doing something. You just happen to be in the room. It's not really related to you. That's kind of a different situation. You might reflect on it as, how can I learn something from this? But really, for me, there is this element of looking at those types of things when they happen and learning from it and just progressing a little bit each time. For example, if say you get some criticism, it's really looking at that and engaging with it, for example, say somebody says to me, since I'm just starting this podcast, oh, you need to stop saying so much or whatever. You're just going all over the place. I don't understand your podcast. Be more specific. Stop saying, And I could take that as, wow, this really blow to my heart because this podcast is really stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm really trying to help people. I want to be helpful. I want to help people. If anyone gets anything out of this, that's why I'm doing it. And then you kind of get this blow of, oh no, I'm horrible at it or whatever. And the old me would have definitely spun a whole bunch of internal dialogue off about that. Like, oh, I must be horrible at it. I must not know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? How embarrassing. Everyone's going to think it's embarrassing. I need to pull everything from, the greater internet because I don't want anybody to see me doing any of this. How embarrassing. I've totally embarrassed myself. What kind of dumb thing am I doing? How did I get here? I was just not what, and I'll, kind of spin off what somebody said to me and make it into something bigger than it was. And that's the change right there. Instead of doing that, instead of taking some information that you have and in your own mind, making it bigger than it needs to be, you need to just look at that information in its original self. Like if there's a comment to you about, I don't understand your podcast, then I could either inquire more about that. Like, what did you mean? What don't you understand? Did you watch the trailer? Whatever, it is I want to say, or explain it more. Or I could decide that doesn't matter to me because the people who do understand it will come and be present and will get something out of this. So I can't be everything to everybody. That's okay if that person doesn't get it, Or I could just look at it and go, is there any nugget of information in there that might be beneficial to me? And do I want to go, thank you for that information and do something different? Or do I want to not do anything? Instead, I'm looking at it now just as it was presented to me. And that's all I'm going with. I'm not reading any more into it. I'm not doing anything more. That, I think, is a huge step forward for me on my life's journey, is to not extrapolate it into something much bigger than it is, to just take a moment to go, let me analyze this in kind of an emotion-free zone the best of I can. Of course, it's hurt my feelings probably, but, can I look at it in just a zone of non-emotional inspection? And then from there, can I decide what I want to do with that? And it might be, I want to attach emotion to this and feel worried and scared about it because I'm not quite at a place where I cannot be that. And that's totally okay. It's totally okay. As long as you don't work it up into something bigger than it is. You got to keep it in the real, original packaging it came in and not try to make it into something bigger or more or worse or better, whatever. You're just taking it as it is. You're analyzing it to the best of your ability, exactly for what it is. And then you're deciding, do I attach any emotion to this or not? And that's sort of how I've tried to deal with those types of things and not think, as I thought before, oh, once I'm evolved enough, that won't matter to me whatsoever at all. I'll just have this, oh, thank you so much for this conversation. I will look at it later or whatever. And I won't have I will stay just, happy as a clam, doing my thing, which I think you can get to with certain things in your life. But I think that when we're on our journeys, things like this are going to happen. And we don't need to stay in this non-authentic space of happiness and bliss if that's not what we're feeling. If we're not feeling happiness about somebody saying something to us or something that's happened in the outside world, or we're not, justifying it away as, well, this is just the universe's way of, making this happen, or this was, so, God's will, or whatever it is that you think about it. And then you can take a moment to be sad, to be maybe even negative about it. You shouldn't beat yourself up if you rant for 20 minutes about something and then think back later, oh, that was, that was so unevolved of me to, you could say that to yourself. Yes, that was unevolved of me to be negative and go on that rant for 20 minutes about something someone said. I would like not to be that person, maybe. And I can work on that. But, sometimes you need some sort of release, because if being on your spiritual path, you have to be authentic in the moment. And if that means, you're not doing the most evolved thing you should possibly do, that's okay, because you're on a journey. You're not trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, per se. You're trying to learn what you can along the way, become a better person, grow, meet people, see new things, do new things, embrace new things, put down old things. There's a lot of stuff you're doing on your journey. And it's not just that you read one book and now all of a sudden, you're so evolved, you're on a different plane than you were last week. It takes time. And it's okay to be like, I am really sad about something. It's totally okay. It's okay to be mad about something. It's what you do with the information, I think, that helps you get to the next place. If you're going to just rant about something, but not look at what you could learn from it, or how you could change or be different or be better, or what needs to happen, or how can you help a situation if it's, say, you heard something horrible on the news or something like that. How do you kind of rectify that within your inner being and then learn or deal with it? Learn from it or deal with it. If you are just, I'm evolved now, so I don't have any emotions about anything. I'm just, blissful all the time. That would be fantastic. But I do think that we live in the world, and in the world, there's a lot of tragedy and sadness and anger out there. And we're in this human form, in this human body, to learn about that. And so when it comes up, we should be authentic, even if it's like, I'm in a really sad mood today. I don't really know why, but let me acknowledge that I'm feel really sad today. It feels a lot to me like 2 years ago when I was really going through hard times. I feel like that same, queasiness in my stomach and unhappiness, and I'm not quite sure what to do about that. You can just sit with it for a while and see what comes up. What is that about? Why is that happening? And you're going to have setbacks. There's been times where I'm like, yes, now I'm in the flow. I'm on my path. I get it. This is great. Everything's going to start coming to me now. It's going to be spectacular and, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll walk out into the regular world and something will happen. Some person will, yell at me for some random thing. I'm in their way at the grocery store or something like that. And then, or I have a setback, like, oh, I'm going to get this job, but then I don't get the job, or, I'm going to, get this new thing, but then I don't get it, or, whatever it is, somebody's going to publish this poem I wrote, but then no one does, or, whatever it may be, you have these setbacks. And it's really, I think, part of your journey to go, what is that setback about? Why do I keep having it? Do I need to meditate on this? What lesson lies within this setback that I can learn from? And sometimes you won't see anything clearly and nothing. It's not like you'll learn the lesson and then, the skies open up for you, but it's really being secure in yourself and listening to yourself, your inner voice telling you, you're doing the right thing, or, it when you do something that you feel like, that was kind of my fault. You do know it with inside yourself. It's just if you created a response within your body and your brain to be like, to not acknowledge that you played a role. Did you condition yourself over the years to be like, no, it's not my fault. It's because you did this or whatever, and then you have to recondition yourself to go, oh, here's a setback or something that happened. Instead of deflecting it onto somebody else, I'm going to just really look at what role I played in it. What happened here? Why did it happen? Can I do something so that it never happens again? I think it's acknowledging that while you're on this journey, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have bad days. It's never going to be perfect for a long period of time. You might have these little pockets of like, whoa, my life's going really good right now, but something will happen. Something will happen because you're in a physical form as a human being, walking on a planet in a society that is created by human beings, trying to, make it through life. And you might be, if you're on a spiritual path or a life path or a journey or something like that, you might also be walking that path by yourself a lot of the times, because you can't make people also be on a spiritual journey or a path or some sort of, walk to awakening. You can't drag people along. You can give them information, but if they don't want to come with you, you're on this path alone a lot of the time. And you have to be okay with that, and cut yourself some slack if you're, trying to be authentically on this path. And then you find yourself at a party with people you knew before you started your journey. And you kind of fall back into this old way of being that you're trying not to be anymore. And you do that for a night. And then you get home and you're laying in bed and you're going, oh God, that just feels so yucky. I don't know. Why did I do that? And then you start beating yourself up. And then there's all this negative self-talk that comes into play. And then you have to realize that, wait. I'm going to cut myself some slack that I did that. But what can I do differently? What tools do I need walking into that I needed when I walked into that party that I didn't have ahead of time because I was blindsided or whatever? How do I, next time this happens, what tools am I going to take with me to that party that'll help me remain authentic, but also not be insulting or rude to those people, or maybe I don't even need to go to those parties with those people anymore because, maybe my life has moved on and I'm somewhere else now. And that's not serving me anymore, to look at it with this sort of, take it in its original form, look at it without any kind of emotion, if possible, analyze it in relationship to who you want to be and what lesson is in there, and then take the lesson and arm yourself with that knowledge for the next time it happens. That's really what those things are about. They're not, it's not to throw you off your path. It's not to make you feel lesser. It's not to make you feel like you are not doing the right thing or you don't know what you're doing. It's just really, there's lessons wrapped in everything that happens in life, both the good and the bad. You can also analyze something really awesome that happens to you. How did that happen? Why did that happen? What role did you play in the creation of that? And how can you keep it going? Or how can you give that to others? Like, wow, this great thing happened to me. How can I pass that on? Very similar to when people pay it forward, the same sort of mechanism. And I just think, like, as you're on your journey, there'll be times you have to step off the path and just pause because it gets too much, or spend a day crying, or, spend a day in bed, or, whatever it is that you need to do to gather strength to get back on the path, because it takes a lot of strength to stay on a life's journey, a spiritual path. It takes you have to have a lot of strength within yourself to be able to take the hits when they come, to learn from them, to appreciate them, and to start moving forward or keep moving forward. And it takes a lot of strength to learn, to constantly be learning, to be relearning, to realize things you learned are not serving you. And so what should you be learning? Where should you be going? To find gurus that can help you, or groups of people who are like-minded, or you can share aspects of your journeys with each other, or anything like that. I mean, it takes a lot of strength to stay on the journey, especially if you feel like you're really alone, if you're in a group of people where you're the only one that's sort of moving forward and are, on this path, and the others are like, well, that's not really rational. I don't believe in anything like that. You're being weird. What are you going to be like, worshiping crystals next? And yeah, maybe, you know, um, but you have to take a lot of this. If you're not surrounded by people who are in the same place as you are, or you're really excited and you want to talk to people about, I started this, life path, and I'm doing this, and I read this book, and this was awesome. And I see that maybe you could use this in your life or whatever. And they're resistant, or they don't care, or they're like, yeah. So anyway, I went to this blah, 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 and you're not getting much support and you're in it alone. It can be really, it takes a lot of energy to stay there and not just succumb to conforming into an environment so that, you're accepted in a way. Like, I don't think you won't be accepted for being on a spiritual path or a life journey. But, you might feel within yourself that I need to be more accepted into this group. So I need to not be these things, or not care about these things, or never talk about this, or not engage with that, or not, go to this anymore, or do that anymore. I'm going to hide whatever spiritual or life path I'm on from everyone, which takes a lot of energy. It all takes a lot of energy, however you decide to do it. So just know that sometimes when you get a setback, or it's not perfect, or you're just really having a hard time. I think a lot of people who really work with the law of, really work with manifestation and the law of attraction, kind of find themselves in this way because they get frustrated that things aren't just falling into place as they thought they would. And in that case, seek more knowledge, but also just realize it takes a lot of work to be on a path to trying to better yourself. It's easy to be the same person you were yesterday because you already know what that's like, and everything's predetermined in your brain. You already know what you're going to do at 3:00 today because you do it every day at 3:00, and you already know how you feel about all these things. So you never have to ask yourself, well, do I think that is not right? Or have I changed my opinion on this? Or do I want to explore that? You don't have to do any of that. All that takes energy, right? If you're just wake up and be the same person you were yesterday, you already know those things. I don't do that. I don't think about that. I don't like that. I like this. I don't do that. I do this. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of this. It's already predetermined for you. It's much easier, but it gets problematic over time, because if you're not growing through your life, at some point in your life, people start growing beyond you and you're still there, like people, who were, this really popular, or partiers or whatever in high school. And if they don't grow beyond that experience that they had, one day you're in your 30s and you find that person annoying, because just chill out, man. We're here. And purpose is not to get, totally blasted and make fun of people anymore. That's not what we do anymore, or whatever it is. Sooner or later, people will kind of start to just sort of grow beyond you. And that makes you more closed off. Like, okay, well, I'm going to pull what I know about yesterday closer to me, and I'm going to rely on that more. And that just widens the gap, So you just have to realize, like, it's hard. Life is hard, regardless of your path or not path or whatever you're doing. It's hard, there's setbacks, there's sadness, there's anger, there's negativity, there's the worst possible things happening, there's the most beautiful and amazing things happening, there's extreme laughter and joy, there's an abundance of love, and then there's times where you feel you're not loved at all. It just, that those are all just these learning experiences that we are taking as we walk through life. And being on a journey is not always being in a perfect state. And it's not always, being, when people come to you with problems, being like, oh, everything is beautiful. Don't worry about it. The right thing will happen. I mean, that's toxic positivity, which I did a podcast on that. And I was kind of aggravated about it while I did it, because it's kind of infuriating to me, especially since I myself have done it to other people. And I feel bad about that, trying to change that. But side note there, you don't want to be one of those people who is just not authentically blissful. When you're blissful, be blissful, man. Go all the way. Be like, I am in the zone. I am in the flow. I am so happy. I'm dancing around. This is great. Let me hug you. Be in the zone if you're in the zone. Be it, enjoy it, feel empowered by it, use it to rejuvenate yourself for the next thing. But if the next day that's not the case for you. Now you're, maybe a little sad about something, or normal, just neither blissful nor sad. That's okay. You're not supposed to become super, enlightened or evolved, and then you're just in this state of perfection all the time, because perfection doesn't really exist. Perfection's only in this fleeting moments. You can have a fleeting moment of perfection, but once it goes away, if it was to reappear exactly the same, it might not be as perfect as it was in that moment. So perfection is always changing. It's not a standard. It's always changing. It's always evolving. It's always becoming something new. You can't be in a place of perfection every moment of your life, because you're in a human body on Earth in a human society to experience what it's like to be a human being. So be gracious to yourself when you fall down, when something happens you're not expecting, when you realize, like, man, I thought I was really evolved, and then this happened. I realized, like, not at all. Or, basically what I'm trying to say is try to stay authentic wherever you are in the moment. If you don't know, you don't know. If you do know, you know this. If you are sad, you're sad. If you're ecstatic, you're ecstatic. Whatever it may be authentic in the moment. And when you get hit or sideswiped with something, first look at it in its original sense, not attaching emotion to it, just observing what it is. What lesson is there in this for you? Or is it someone else's lesson? If it's someone else's lessons, can you still learn something from it? Yeah, probably, right? And then decide what that is, and if you're having a really hard time letting it go, I did a podcast on forgiveness, and I really came to the conclusion that sometimes it takes a long time to let things go. You can't just let it go and then never talk about it again. If authentically it's still back there somewhere, it's still back there waiting to go to the forefront of your mind. You're still working on it. And it's completely okay to be working on things even throughout your whole life, working on forgiveness, working on insecurities you have about yourself, working on, just yourself in general. It's okay. It's a journey. It's a journey. You're going to be working on these things for a while. It's a journey. And it's not, you might not reach the destination from, I guess some people can reach the destination of enlightenment or evolution to some degree, but probably the most of us will be on the journey. And that's awesome. It's a journey. I mean, how great. It's like a road trip that's spectacular. You're going to see some amazing things you never knew existed on this journey, and it's going to test you, and it's just going to be incredible. So don't beat yourself up about it if you aren't perfect every second. That's not the goal. Just be authentic as you can. And once in a while, you won't be authentic because you're human, and that's okay. It's okay. Just reflect on it later on, So I hope that helped you a little bit. If you're on your journey and you're feeling like, why am I not in this perfect state all the time? Or getting frustrated. Maybe this isn't for me. I hope it helps you a little bit to know that everyone on a journey is also feeling the same way. That's part of the process. And it's okay. It just means, like, yeah, you're in it. You started, high fives all around. We've started our journeys. We're walking. We're all walking together right now, and it's going to be amazing. and tragic and sad and beautiful and ugly and extremely blissful and joyous and negative. And there'll be anger and there'll be joy and there'll be things to learn and there'll be things to teach others and there'll be things to learn again quite a few times. And there'll be challenges, and we got this. You got this, I got this, we all have it. We can do it. It'll be hard. It takes a lot of energy. So just know that sometimes you'll need to step off the path to rejuvenate your energy and walk on. And that's perfectly fine. We'll be talking more about this. This is part of the journaling project to the 12-month journaling journal project with socialrefugees.org that we're doing. So, and we'll talk more about that in March. March. What am I saying? It is March, April. But in the meantime, know that I love you. I support you. I want you to know I love you. I support you. And you got this. So put on your backpack and let's walk on together.